there, I am Kim Kesty and I would like to welcome you to this month's project tutorial video. Now, if you have received your Kindness Matters project kit in the mail, then you are ready to go. Just take a look at the video and get to crafting. Let's see what you've got in your box. So you've got some brand new product, including 4 stamp sets. Let's take a look at those first. We've got the Kindness is Cool stamp set. We're actually going to be using that on our very first card. Gorgeous full-size red rubber stamp set, as always. We've also got the Sweet Birthday Wishes stamp set. We'll be using that on the second card. And then this really cute ATS size, it's a little bit smaller stamp set. You can see on the back that it's one gorgeous stamp. Again, as always, red rubber. And this is called Folk Blossom. And then you've also got a fun piece in there that we don't always have in our kits, but we thought it'd be fun to include this month. It's called the Cane Weave Stencil. So we'll also be using that on our very first card. So I'm going to leave these 2 items out and set the other guys aside. Now what you also have in your box is 4 different card kits. So these are all kitted for you. They're trimmed mostly to size. You've got all your little fun pieces in here. If you need any additional die cuts, for example, this has this little scallop die cut, that's included. So we really try to get you set up so you are just ready to start crafting. Now the very first kit we're going to start with today is this kit with the longer piece of cool pool in here. In fact, I think when you get your kit, yours might already be folded in half, which is pretty cool. Save you one quick step right there. So I'm going to fold mine in half really quick and use my little crease tool. So your kit may look like this with a folded piece in it. But in any case, you are going to be pulling all the kit contents out for this card number 1. I say, let's just get busy, right? Now this kit has a really fun technique in it that we're going to be doing first because it needs to dry for a few minutes. So you're going to grab your bigger piece of whipped cream cardstock. You've got a little square. We use this for stamping, so set that aside. We're going to use this for our very first technique as we get started. The rest of your items you can just kind of set aside. And remember I said we're going to be using the stencil. So let's open that up. This is your cane weave stencil. It's going to be great for so many spring projects. Just imagining it as a fun little basket or something like that. But what we're going to do today is we're going to do some modeling paste stenciling. So I've got my Journey modeling paste here. And you don't need a whole lot. So I've got my little bloom kind of dish here, which of course we also saw on the website, but you can use any kind of dish or container. And I'm going to pull out a little bit more than a tablespoon. I'm just going to put that in my little dish. And then I don't want to color my modeling paste. So I'm going to add kind of a unique product we have here. And this is called Bubblegum Silk. And I do want to shake it up a little bit. You can color your modeling paste with any kind of coloring that you want as long as it's a water base. So you could put, a watercolor in here. You could put an acrylic paint in here. You could put a lot of different things to color your modeling paste as long as, like I said, it is water based. So I'm just going to drip a few drops. Yeah, that looks like probably enough. A little bit smaller than the size of a dime. And I just want to come in here and start mixing it up. Now what is a little bit different about our silk is that it does have a little bit of enamel in it, and that's what gives it this really shiny, pretty color. So I just want to give you a heads up that when you're done with this technique, go ahead and wash your tools off pretty much right away. Then they won't stick to anything. The enamel part won't stick. Now I said it was water-based, which it is, but it does have that little bit of enamel in there to give it that shine. Okay, that's looking pretty good. It's mixed up nicely. Kind of just scrape my little tool here. Now you could tape it down to make sure that it's really sturdy, but I think I'm going to kind of line it up with my grid paper here. And I feel pretty confident that I'm going to be able to hold it down. But if you want, you can put some washi tape, to really make sure it's nice and secure. Now, when I add this modeling paste, I don't really want to cover the entire surface of this panel. So I'm going to kind of go for like a segment that's a little bit diagonal right across here. So when I put my paste down, and now I can just use the flat edge and just kind of do some scraping. So our spatula is pretty flexible. It does bend pretty easily, so it's a great tool for this technique. Again, if you don't scrape it like you see me doing, if you don't scrape it flat, it's going to take a lot longer to dry. Now again, I'm not covering it, like I said, the entire card panel. I want it to be kind of irregular. I want enough of the pattern to show, but I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'll just lift the stencil away. And now you've got this really fun pattern. So see, you're going to have the dimension of the modeling paste. You're going to have the really pretty glimmer, and I think you can catch a little bit of it on the video. That really pretty glimmer from the bubblegum silk. Just gives it a little bit of a shine, and that will stay there even when it's dry. So we'll go ahead and set that aside and let that dry. And I'm going to go quickly clean my tools, and I'll be right back. Alrighty then, so we have all our tools sparkling clean now, so I'll set these aside. And again, we're going to let your panel dry, so just kind of set that in a safe spot where it won't get smudged. Maybe I'll put that with my card base here. And let's get to some stamping, so I can move these guys. All right, so you want to grab your stamp set out, and let's grab the koala out. And then what's something that's kind of fun that you may not have realized about this set yet is we've got 2 additional little paws here, and that is so our little koala can hold any of the little elements. I'm going to grab the sentiment out called Love Bigger. That's the name of our card. By the way, you do have full-size instructions for these cards in postcard form, and I'm going to throw up a photo of what those look like right now. And they have all the supplies and the instructions and everything you need on them. So those are also going to be in your box. And I think those are all the stamp sets I need for this card. So I'll set this guy aside. And then bring back your little pieces of paper you had in your kit. Like I said, this bigger one is going to be for the koala. And then you also do have a strip of whipped cream. This is going to be for your sentiment. So of course these are cling rubber, so they're going to cling right to your clear blocks. And I'm using just traditional black licorice ink. It's permanent when it dries, which of course we love. I'm kind of angling Mr. Koala off to the side because I want to leave room to get his little paw and his little flowers there too. All right. I love the lines on our clear blocks because they can help me, you know, line up the sentiment and try to get it as straight as possible. We did trim this strip a little bit large for you, so you will have a chance to trim it down if it's the tiny bit crooked or something. I'm going to more or less center it on this sentiment strip. All right. So now we just have to color this little guy in. So what I did is I went ahead and grabbed our Color Burst pencils, and these are just our normal pencils as far as pure color. They're not watercolor or anything. You can see that I've already taken a few out for my set, and I'll quickly show you the colors I used for my koala. And then I'll probably let you go ahead and relax and watch me color this guy. So I've got number 9, 48, 46, and then the silver and gold, which are number 47 and number 20. So I'll use those for my accents. So we just color him in with kind of soft circular motions. And I want him to be fairly light, so I don't want to color him in real heavy or even real solid. So I'm just going to kind of go in gently and color the whole koala. And we'll probably speed up this part of the video. So relax and enjoy. So you can see I'm using my white pencil to use it kind of as a little blending tool. So I kind of use it and I kind of go over where the two different grays meet and just kind of give myself a chance to do just a little bit of blending. And then I use the gold pencil very sparingly. I just used a little bit inside his ears just to give a touch of warmth, like kind of blends in with his fur. I could use most of this will be covered up, but I can use a little bit on his fur here too. So just a touch. So koala's pretty cute. He doesn't need a lot of coloring. He's just adorable, just like that. Oops, I shouldn't forget to color a little bit on his paw too. Okay, now I'm going to move over to the flowers here. I'm going to kind of turn this guy, and I've got a few different colored pencils for the flowers. And these are going to be kind of a fun little color palette, a little tropical maybe. So I've got 2 pinks, number 4 and number 6. And I've got number 16 is a pretty golden yellow, 21, and 24. So those are the ones I'll be using for my flowers. I always start with a lighter color. If I have 2 shades of pink, I'll always start with a lighter and then go to the darker. Simple, doesn't need a whole lot there to really make it come to life. I love our pencils and love how they blend. Okay, so now we've got to do some detail cutting. Some of you might call it fussy cutting. So we're just going to take our little detail shears and go right around this guy and the flowers and the extra paw and trim him right out. I do leave a little bit of white cardstock around the edge showing, but you can detail cut however your heart desires. Here are our 3 little pieces. Don't forget to keep track of that little paw so you don't lose it, that's for sure. I'm going to check on my panel over here, and it's feeling pretty dry, maybe not 100%. Maybe I'll let that sit a few more minutes while we work on the rest of our card front here. This is going to layer. This is a pretty banana cream panel, and this panel is going to layer right on top as soon as it's dry, so you can kind of set that with that guy. Now I'm going to get my little heart here, and this is how our koala is going to go together. This little heart is a die cut, and he's going to be holding this little heart right in front of him because it will, of course, match the sentiment called Love Bigger. But the same way that I'm showing you right now that these are going to layer, you can do it with any of the images from the stamp set. So you could have him holding the little watermelon, the sunflower, the rainbow, the heart, etc., etc. So anything that he can hold in his little paw would be just adorable in the same way. So let me grab a foam square. These are our smaller foam squares. Probably use some mediums in a minute too, but we'll get started with a couple of small ones. And you just kind of want to position his little heart so it's a little bit tilted. You don't want to, cover up much of his face. And it's really just going to cover one of his paws and just kind of tilt under his little chin there. And so then this is the beauty of this extra little paw coming in, because I can grab a little bit of glue and I can position it about right where I would imagine his paw would be wrapping around, right? This is our Journey Craft glue, our wet glue. And then I'm just going to glue the little paw on there like he's reaching right around and holding it. So see how it looks so cute, like he's like giving the heart a little hug. I love it. Now I'm going to get the same little foam adhesive here. I'll put a couple pieces on and add his little flower crown to the top of his head. So cute. And we'll just kind of make our koala kind of fancy. Now he is going to layer on this vellum circle. You can see that I pulled our little vellum circle. This is already pre-cut for you. He's going to kind of layer on here on my finished card. That's why I'm kind of placing it on here as I go. And then you've got 2 little die cut clouds that also came in your kit. These are pre-die cut for you. These are from our Cloud Dreams die set, which I just love. It has tons of different sizes of clouds. I think these are one of the smallest ones in that set. So again, using foam adhesive, I always like to pop things up. It adds a lot of really fun dimension. I'm going to put one cloud kind of coming in behind his head. Now I haven't adhered him yet, but I'm kind of, placing him around so I can see where to put all my little elements here. And then my other cloud is going to be kind of coming in here, just because he's kind of fun and dreamy and sweet. Now my sentiment is going to layer kind of almost underneath his little feet here, and I can see that it's a little bit too wide. So you can either take your larger shears and trim this, or you can grab your paper trimmer, whatever you're comfortable with, to trim this banner down just a little bit narrower. Might even take a smidge off the bottom here. You want it to be fairly narrow, not so it's real wide. And then this end right here, I'm gonna trim a little bit shorter and just trim into a fun little banner cut. So you come in with your cut in the middle and then come in from each corner, and you have the perfect banner cut that matches beautifully. And I also want to put a little accent on this side that it's going to kind of look like it's attaching to my card with one of our little gold staples. So I'm just going to trim this maybe a little bit shorter. I'm positioning it here so I can see where his little paws are going to kind of go right between love and bigger. And then I'm going to add a little fun staple element here. And this is just our mini stapler. And it comes with either gold or silver staples, or you could buy them. And this happens to be the gold one. And look how cute it is. It's just a fun little gold accent to kind of make the card a little bit more special. And now I think we're about ready to put the rest of it together. You still have a little piece of washi tape. This is from our lemon drop washi tape, but we put it on a piece of wax paper so you can peel it off easily. And then start assembling your card. So remember, Koala's not adhered quite yet. So I'm going to get him on my card first, and then I'm going to adhere him down so I know exactly where he wants to go. So first I'll put this banana cream panel, and I'm butting it up all the way at the top of the card. And then our stenciled panel is also going to go all the way on top. So really most of what you're seeing is just this small little strip of banana cream peeking out the bottom. Next, our washi tape's going to go on. I do like to kind of rip one end of the washi tape. I think that's kind of fun. And then when I start looking to layer all these elements on, this gives me an idea of where to place my vellum circle and also my sentiment, because it's going to layer right above the washi tape. Once I get my sentiment lined up, then the rest of the card just falls into place. I do like to get my vellum adhesive underneath elements that I have on here so it doesn't show on my vellum. All right, so now I'll grab some bigger squares for my little koala here. And again, I know where he's going to go because I've already figured out my sentiment. He's going to go right between love and bigger. Okay, we are so close. We're going to add a few little sequins, and I am going to add some journey glaze to my card. But I want to do that at the very, very end so I don't smudge any of the journey glaze. Now you've got some pink world sequins in your little Ziploc here. And you are going to use some of these for another card, so don't use more than half. I'm sure there's more than enough in here. I really just think he probably needs maybe just 3 or 4 sequins here, so I'll see what it looks like as we go along. I think the sparkly just adds a fun little girly girl touch to this card. And the pink also works nicely with the pink stenciling in the back. Okay, now I thought the last final touch would be just adding some journey glaze to the heart and some of the little flowers and maybe his little nose. So I do have my journey glaze here. This is a 2-ounce bottle. And it's got a pretty fine tip on it, so it's pretty easy to get your journey glaze just where you want it to go. So I'm going to start adding it to my heart. And it is dimensional. It's amazing stuff. It doesn't bubble, which I love. Now I think a little bit on the flowers. And then, because I always picture a koala's nose as being pretty shiny, I thought it would be fun just to add a little bit of gloss to that little nose. And I think that little guy is pretty much done. You are going to want to let your glaze dry for a good couple hours before you put it in an envelope or do anything like that. So love the dimension that creates on the front of the card. Love his sweet little face and the sparkly sequins. There's pretty much nothing I don't love about this card. So I hope that you've enjoyed card number 1, and we're going to pause the video right here so you can make sure you're all caught up, and we will quickly start card number 2. Welcome back. Now that card is drying, it's off in a safe space. Let's start with card number 2. This one we're going to be using the Sweet Birthday Wishes stamp set. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that open. Super adorable. I love doing birthday cards in January because I feel like I can just kind of do a lot of them, stock up, have them all ready for the whole year. Well, maybe not the whole year, but you know what I'm saying. Get a little jump start. So we've got this sweet birthday girl. She also has arms that are a little bit separate, which is kind of funny, but that's so you can adjust her arms to either hold the cake or the bouquet of flowers or just be on her dress or, you know, put them any direction you want. And then, of course, she's got the different cakes, candles, cake plate, and all these darling, darling sentiments. And the card kit we're going to be using for card number 2 is this little guy that has the rectangle die cut and has this little piece of limeade splash in there. So grab that one out and go ahead and pull it apart. We've got a little button and some twine in here too. Don't lose that. Our card base, again, I'm just going to fold in half and set aside. I'm using my crease tool for a nice sharp finish. And we'll be using that in a few minutes as we go along. You've got one piece right here that 2 pieces of whipped cream. So let's take a gander at those. One is a little bit bigger. You can see it's the same size as the background of the card. We're going to set this aside to do our stamping on. So we'll go ahead and set that over there. Now this guy is the front panel of our card. I wanted to create something kind of fun and different. So I wanted to create a striped background with this cardstock. I went ahead and kept it in one piece for you so you can practice your trimming techniques here. What you're going to want to do is just grab your trimmer, your favorite trimmer, which mine is the FSJ trimmer, of course. It's got grid marks every 1/4 inch, so it's going to be really easy for me to come in and do 1/2 inch stripes of this paper. So I'm just going to line it up and just go ahead and cut quite a few different 1/2 inch stripes. So for the stripes on your card base, you're going to need 7 strips of limeade. So you will have some extra. Go ahead and grab your Journey Craft glue. I always like to start more or less in the center for my stripe. Now what I like to do is go one on top and one below. Then I'm kind of eyeballing this width in between the stripes. So I do this for the whole card front. You can use other types of adhesive for this, but I kind of like the wet glue, so I can just kind of take a look at it, and I can also use my grid paper to make sure it's lined up pretty good here. Okay, so your stripes, they don't have to be perfect. If you kind of eyeball it, you get a more or less even striped look on your card. And then they are a little bit longer than my card panel, so I'm just going to flip this base over and just trim away the excess little bits of cardstock. All right, now we can actually come back in and bring our card base in. So this is my folded card base. So I can go ahead and adhere this because I know it's the perfect size. And I am just adhering it flat. You can use foam adhesive, of course. Just press firmly like that. And your card base is all finished. You can set that aside. Now, like I said, you have this larger piece left and, of course, your die cut. And this is going to be perfect for all of our stamping. I'm going to grab our birthday girl. I'm going to grab both of her little arms. And you'll see how those come to life as I create this project. And I could not stand how cute these flowers were, so I'm going to be using the flowers and the little cake base. So I'm going to kind of pretend that this whole cake is made of flowers. Wouldn't that be fancy? Again, just using my classic black licorice ink. Little flowers next. Just a nice firm pressure, straight up and straight down. We are going to fussy cut all of these elements out, so just leave enough space to get that project done. But before we do any of the fussy cutting, we're going to do coloring of these images. So I decided that watercolor would be awfully fun for this card, so I went ahead and grabbed our Journey Color Splash pencils. And I'll walk you through what colors I use really quickly. You can use more colors, of course, as you go, but I thought, well, this might be easier if you're following along with me exactly. I've got a kind of a pretty orange, number 12. I've got number 18. Got kind of a skin tone, number 9, number 6 pink, 23 blue, and 2 shades of gray, which are 45 and 46. So those are the colors I'm going to use. Now, watercolor pencils are really fun. You can use a clear sheet for a palette. Sometimes I like to use the clear blocks, which are super fun too. And this is a blending brush. This happens to be the larger size, and this is filled with plain water. So that is going to activate our watercolors here. I'm going to start with a pink for her dress, just kind of pulling color off the pencil. You can also go directly to your cardstock if you want. And as I come in and start coloring her skirt, I just really want it to be a light, brushy look. All right, now I'm going to create a polka dot top for her by first coloring it with a gray, and I'm going to come back with one of our little markers and add polka dots. So I'm starting with the lighter gray. And I kind of wanted her shirt to look almost like a black, but not quite as dark as black. I'm going to let that layer dry for just a minute, and then I'm going to add a little bit darker gray. In the meantime, I'm going to come in with some green, start coloring my little flowers in. How the watercolor kind of layers on itself there. All right, I realized I forgot to pull out the pencil for her hair color, so let me grab that. Kind of giving her a little brown bob, so I grabbed out pencil 41. You see that I'm kind of rinsing off the color from my brush because it does have water in the barrel. I can kind of rinse it and go on to my new color. You saw me do that in the other part of the video. So again, kind of just doing really light strokes on her hair. I don't want it to be real dark. Pulling that color around. Kind of let it dry, and I might add another little accent there, but I think that's pretty good. Again, coming back with some skin tone. Let that dry for just a second, and I'm going to come back and add the little gold accents, which we'll be using a different product. So we'll be right back. Okay, so we let most of our watercolor dry. We want it to be pretty dry before we add our next layer of fun product on top. So let's take a look at what we're going to add. I wanted this girl to be pretty fancy, so I wanted to add a few gold accents to her little shoes, her belt, and her necklace. So I thought, you know what? Let's bring in some gold silks. This is, again, our gold silk product, and it has this great metallic in the bottom. So as I shake it up a little bit, that metallic will get mixed up, and I think it'll be the perfect accent for my little birthday girl. So I'm putting a little bit of the gold silk on a block. And again, because it does have a little bit of enamel in it, this is going to dry on my block if I don't clean it up. It won't dry that fast, but keep that in mind. So I'm grabbing my same water brush and I'm making sure it's cleaned up here. And then I'm just grabbing just a little bit of the gold silk on the tip of my brush. And again, I'm going to want to rinse that off pretty quickly. And I'm just coming in and just adding this really fun, sparkly gold accent. I think it's just perfect. I kind of do it as like little dots to the necklace. I guess it's really more of a collar of her shirt, but I think it looks like a necklace. And then just the little tips of her sweet little shoes. Put a little dot of gold here too. Okay, now you'll see when it dries when you're doing this at home that it has a just gorgeous little sparkle when it's dry that will stay on there and be kind of that metallic look I was going for. So again, clean off your block and your brush. I'll go ahead and squeeze some water out and rinse this brush. And you will be good to go. Now remember I said we're going to make the little top of this birthday girl polka dotted? So I went ahead and grabbed our Jane Davenport Storytime paint pen. These come in a 4-pack, 2 whites, 2 blacks, and they have different size tips. And it is paint, so you're going to want to shake it up, make sure that gets all mixed up in there. And I could even do some little practice dots here on the side. I'm going to be fussy cutting this girl around. Kind of make sure the paint is flowing in there. And now I just want to come and give little polka dots on her little shirt. So holding the pen straight up and down is probably the best way to get the paint moving. Now Jane uses this pen for all kinds of different things in her artwork, and it's super fascinating to watch. But I thought this might be just the cute little decor for our party girl's top. All right. Super fun. We're going to be using another one of Jane's pens in just a minute as we finish this card. But I am going to start detail cutting. You're going to want to cut all of these pieces out. Fussy cut them all around the edge. So maybe we'll put some sweet little music on and watch as I go ahead and detail cut these pieces. See that I didn't try to fussy cut up between her legs or anything like that, so we didn't have to get too crazy here. Just so it's got this fun ability to pop these up and layer them up, and that's why we fussy cut them. So I'm going to go ahead and grab our triangle out, and actually, you know what? I need to stamp the sentiment first. Kind of didn't pull that stamp set out yet. So what's really great about her skirt is that it fits a variety of these different sentiments on her skirt. So you can do make a wish, happy birthday, or really any of them, but these 3 were made to fit. The sweet birthday wishes is the one we're going to use. And that's why her skirt is so nice and wide and fluffy. We can just add our sentiment right to it. And of course the stamps are indexed, so it's going to help me line up my sentiment right on her skirt. And again, you do want to make sure she's nice and dry before you stamp. Sure it's inked up well. I'm going to kind of, you know, get it straightened up where you want it to be. The sweet goes fairly high up on her skirt, but you don't want to get it cut off, so just a firm stamp straight down and straight up. And there we have our sweet birthday wishes. So cute. So you can see that I left a little bit extra on her arms. And I just want to, maybe I'll even fussy cut this a little bit tighter to her two little sleeves here. Then you can kind of decide where you want her arms to be placed. Again, with some of the other images in the stamp set, you can place her arms so her arms are, out wider. They can come and tuck in a little bit closer to her skirt if she was holding the cake stand, for instance. But for our card, she's not going to be holding the cake stand. She's just going to be kind of having her little arms a little bit on top of her skirt like this. And again, that is the reason why her arms are separate stamps, so that you can have extra flexibility to kind of positioning them however you want. Like I said, I'll trim away this excess paper from my fussy cutting. And she is ready to go. Okay, now we're going to bring in our rectangle for reals this time. We have our stamped images ready to go. And you have some twine in your kit right there. You want to pull it apart, and you're actually going to use it for two different things that kind of go together on this card, but get it unwound here. First thing you want to do is wrap it around your card base about 3 times. Just kind of pick your position here, and the scallops actually help you kind of hold your string in place a little bit. Okay, so that's about 3 times. Cut off a little chunk here, and we're going to use the rest for a bow. This part you want to just tie in a knot. Okay, so I've got my knot now, and now you've got your extra twine right here, and you're going to create a triple bow with it. We do have a video solely dedicated to creating this bow, but you can see that I'm creating a figure 8 on my finger 3 times because it is a triple bow. And then I'm putting the end of the string down through the space that my 2 fingers have created. And now I've got this loop here. I want to dive back into the well again, and that's going to create my knot. And there we go. We have a fun triple bow with only 2 little ends, which is exactly what I want. We're going to place this right here, and then with my 2 little ends that I have, the little string hanging out, this is where you want to bring in your little crystal flower button. And this might be a little tricky, but hopefully we'll trim it and it'll slip right through the back of the buttonhole here. There's 1/2. If you had like a little needle threader or something, you could totally use that. The twine is, I think it's stiff enough that you can get it through that buttonhole. All right, and then this top one, you just want to tie a knot, just to hold our little button in place. I said I wanted her to be a little bit fancy, right? So now you know. Okay, when I originally designed this card, I really wanted a little piece of pattern paper behind here. But by the time I added my little birthday girl, and we're going to be layering up this little cake, I thought, you know what? It really just needs some little accents that's not pattern paper. I think that would have been too busy. So let me go ahead and adhere her down, and then I'll show you what I'm going to add just for a touch of background. We'll put her in place first, and then we'll kind of tuck the cake in. So I do want the string to be underneath her, so I'm just going to kind of fluff the string out there a little bit. You more or less want her shoes to be close to the bottom of the rectangle and her head to be close to the top. And I actually think I'm going to glue this cake to my cake plate before I put the foam squares on. I'm not going to put squares too far over on this side, so I can kind of tuck it in under my little birthday girl. They can hang out over the edge a little bit. That's totally fine. Now her little hands, you can leave them out, or you can put a tiny bit of glue. Kind of wanted the idea like she's kind of fluffing her little dress out. Okay. So what I decided to do to add the little pattern to the back of my panel is I went ahead and grabbed Jane Davenport pens. Again, these are her finishing line pens, and there's actually 10 in the pack. And I've just grabbed some of my favorites here. And I ended up liking the brush tip. It's got just a little bit of a blunt brush tip, and these do come in different sizes. But all I want to do is come in with my pen and just add little groupings of 3 dots. And this is just going to add a fun little pattern to my background. Again, it's almost like a pattern paper, but just really subtle, really sweet. And I do put my elements on first so that I know where to bring in these dots, because I don't have to do the whole entire background of the paper. But I can kind of take a look at it and decide, okay, do I have enough dots? Maybe I want one more little Grouping up here on the edge. And again, check if there's any empty spots. I think that looks pretty sweet. So basically this whole panel is finished. Oops, foam square backing. This whole panel is finished and ready to put on your card base, which remember we finished that earlier. So I am going to bring in foam squares this time. Then you just kind of want to center it on your card front. And there's your cute, fun, kind of springy card. Now I'm looking at it going, oh my gosh, I don't think it's quite straight. This is something if you don't know me, you know that my cards have to be like very straight. Okay, I feel better now. Okay, so that is card number 2. I'll leave it there in case you're not quite finished up. And we'll be right back to start card number 3. Well, I think we are ready to start card number 3. So let's check it out. We're going to want to grab our Kindness is Cool stamp set back out again. We're going to be using that for card number 3. And the kit that looks like it matches is the one with a larger bubblegum card base and then the little black strip and your whipped cream panels. Let's pull these out. All right, so you'll notice right away that you have this whipped cream panel is not your traditional normal cardstock. You'll notice it has a little texture. I don't know if it's going to show up real great in the video, but it's a little bit thicker. It's one of our splash sheets. So this is not traditional whipped cream cardstock, but it is our splash sheet. And then we've got our card base. With this little black strip, we're going to emboss the sentiment a little bit later, so we'll just set that aside. And again, I like to just go ahead and fold my card base, get that guy over there. So the main panel that we're going to be working with is this watercolor panel. So first I want to stamp the background kind of pattern on it. So I'm going to be using the fun little rainbow from Kindness is Cool, and also the little heart. These two images kind of match each other. So I'm just going to use these alternating all across the front of my card. So I'm going to go for this first heart more or less in the middle of this panel. So I'm going to do the entire card base right here, and then later I'm going to trim a little bit across away from the top or bottom. So I'm not too worried about getting it perfectly centered here. So I'm just going to alternate. I'm going to be doing heart, rainbow, all in black licorice. So again, knowing that I'm going to be trimming a little bit of this card base, I'm not too worried that it's not completely square. I'm just going to trim a little bit more off across the top, and that'll be the front of my card when I'm completely finished. So let's talk about watercolors. I'm going to bring in this Clearview sheet, and this is actually just one of the sheets that came off the stamp set when I opened the stamp set brand new. And to do my watercolor, I'm going to use a new product to me that I have not used real much. It just launched on our site a few months ago. These are the Jane Davenport watercolor pen. The watercolor markers are actually called. I kind of call them pens because they have a little brush tip, but they are her mermaid markers, and they do give a really, really fun watercolor effect. Now they come in all these gorgeous colors, and we're going to be using some on our last card. But I did pick out 5 colors in particular that I'm using on this card. So let me set these other guys aside, and I'll show you which colors I used for this fun card. I used Pirate's Gold, Starfish, Blue Bottle, Byron Bay, and Seaweed. Such cute names, right? Jane has got such a fun talent for picking out just the best names for her colors. So when I go ahead and add watercolor to my panel here, and like I said, this is a splash sheet, so it's going to absorb a lot of water. But I really want this to be very, very pale, very kind of washed out. I kind of was doing a little bit of a 70s vibe. So although you could watercolor this directly to your paper, I'm not going to want to do that. So I'm bringing it on the splash sheet, and then I'm going to bring in one of our blending pens that again is just full of water, and I'm going to squeeze some additional water out, and I'm really going to water this color down. In fact, add quite a bit of water, so you can really kind of play with this, and you could grab a scrap piece of cardstock or something and do a little test. I could even do a little bit on my grid paper here or whatever. But you want to make sure that the pink color for this particular project is really nice and pale. So I'm just going to come in with my brush tip and start coloring the center of all of my hearts. And I do want a few different shades of pink. You know, it doesn't have to be all the same exact shade. If they kind of go out of the lines a little bit, that is totally fine. Now I'm going to come back with a little bit deeper pink. Still pretty watered down. But I just want to put a little bit of additional shading on some of my hearts. I'm going to kind of more or less go to the one side of my heart. I'm just going to keep consistent and add a little bit darker wash of color on all the same side of these little fun hearts. So I love how these colors layer. And as that splash sheet absorbs the water, they just really give you a fun effect. So again, you can see how that additional extra pink has just kind of added a little bit more dimension. And these kind of spots where it shows the watercolor, I love that. That's exactly the look I'm going for. So I'm not going to want to try to tidy them up or clean them up at all. And then I'm going to come in with my Pirate's Gold. And again, you'll see, we'll probably end up speeding up this part of the video, but you'll see how I do the exact same thing with every color. Just add water from my water brush, and then just keep layering the color on. You notice that I have one piece left for my rainbow to do, and I wanted to really let this top pink dry a little bit more before I came in and did that last piece, because I'm going to take a little bit of my Pirate's Gold and my Starfish and kind of mix them together and get kind of a little bit softer, lighter, kind of peachier pink. And that's going to be my last stripe in here. Just a little bit different shade than the one we used, the more Pirate's Gold we used in our heart. And some of my colors have kind of worked together and kind of bled together a little bit, and I'm totally fine with that. I think the idea of the watercolor in these images, because they're so playful and fun, that it just adds a little bit more character to your card front, so don't fret about that. In fact, this one bled a little bit more, and I could even kind of add a little bit more color right here. Deepen these guys up. Now the watercolor will dry slightly lighter as it completely finishes drying and soaks up into that splash sheet. So we'll go ahead and kind of let that dry for a few minutes while we work on the rest of our card base. Mainly our sentiment. This card comes together really quick and easy. And keep these clear view sheets, by the way. You can reuse these all the time. Super fun. All right, I'll put this here and just kind of freeze the frame here for a minute. Kind of let you get caught up, let that get drying, and then we'll work on our sentiment and our card base. Alrighty, so while that watercolor panel dries just for a few minutes, let's work on our sentiment and our card base. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out the Kindness is Cool sentiment, which I think is so sweet. This would be a fantastic card to send to really just about anybody. I've got an 11-year-old, which I know that she would love something like this, because as I try to teach her to be kind, I think it's really fun. We are going to stamp this in clear pigment ink on our black cardstock. Remember that strip we had. Again, I kind of make sure my sentiment is lined up here. And this is a little bit wider than we need to be, so don't stress too much about that. But we're going to stamp it in clear pigment ink, and then we're going to heat emboss it with white powder. I'm going to go just a little bit to the right on this panel. Again, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to leave a little bit of room for a banner cut over there. And you're not going to be able to see this a lot until I sprinkle the powder, so let's do that. Dump most of it back in my jar here. All right. My smudges have one little smudge right here, and I'm going to grab one of my paint brushes, which I kind of keep handy. This is a fun trick just for removing that excess powder. If you have some hanging out where you don't want it, you can just use your little soft paintbrush. All right. We'll just grab our heat gun and heat emboss this until it's nice and melted, and it'll be just gorgeous. All right, I have to say that is one technique I never get tired of, seeing the magic of the heat embossing. Okay, like I said, this is a little bit wider than how I want it, so I'm just going to grab my shears and trim it down a little bit. This is also your chance to straighten anything up if your sentiment is a little bit crooked. I'm going to come in with my smaller shears and do a banner cut on this side. And then you've got your little tiny baby paper clip, which is just a fun little accent just to kind of add to the end of your sentiment there. Kind of like, oh, it's clipped on. Again, kind of reminiscent of the little 70-ish vibe for the top of your card panel. Now this guy is pretty much dry. I'm going to bring in my trimmer, and remember how I said we're going to trim some of it away. I'm going to trim most of it off the top. So I'm going to go in about 1/4 inch. Then I might trim just a little bit off the bottom too. I'll bring in my card base and make sure that this is the right size. Basically what I'm looking for is just a little bit of the bubblegum cardstock to show top and bottom. And I think that's pretty good. You can kind of look at your card panel that you've watercolored and make any minor adjustments you need to just get it to where it looks just right on your card. And of course this is going to be the sentiment on here. Now before I adhere it to my card base, I thought it would be fun to add a little bit more texture to the front of this. Not that it's not crazy enough already, but I wanted to go ahead and bring a couple of our silks in. In fact, I think I'll set the sentiment aside too. So there's something magical about a little splatter on your card front. So I went ahead and grabbed 2 colors. This is Outrageous Pink and Black Licorice. So again, colors that complement both of the colors that are in my watercolors. So this is going to be how we use the silk traditionally, unlike the earlier card where we brushed it on. This is going to be a normal flicking motion. So go ahead and open your silk, and you can see that it's got the little kind of looks like nail polish base, and then you just want to go ahead and tap it like, almost like I tease people and say it's like you used to do the old cigarette butt, right? Not that I would know that, of course, but so again, you're just flicking and adding some of those little fun sparkly enamel droplets on there, and we'll do the same with the black. Again, the card has so much character in the images already that I think that the little splatter really complements the images. So super fun. You are going to let that dry for a few minutes. I'll add some of our foam squares on here while we're letting that dry. Because it does have that enamel, it will smear if you touch it too quickly, so don't get too hasty. So we're just going to pop up this panel on our card base. Okay, try to get it nice and square on there. And again, I'm not trying to touch too much of the splatter in there, just make sure that it gets adhered. Awesome. And then of course we'll pop up our sentiment a little bit too, because why not? So super fun, super cheerful, colorful. Love the watercolor effect. I know that you could use any color that you chose and it would turn out just darling. So we'll go ahead and set this one aside and get ready for card number 4. Alrighty, so let's move on to card number 4. You guys are doing awesome. Let's finish up our last card in our kit. I don't know about you, but I'm having fun. So the last card kit is, of course, the last one we're going to be working on, and that has this little square of watermelon cardstock, and the rest of it's pretty light and bright. Let's kind of take a look at what we've got. We've got our card base. Quickly fold that. I do also like to fold these and kind of get them out of the way because I feel like that I won't accidentally stamp on it or cut it or do something like that. So I'll tuck that one away. Now we have another splash sheet, and that's again that textured light colored cardstock. And then we've got our little whipped cream panel and our watermelon. This is going to be like a little mat for our stamping. And then this is for our sentiments. We can set those aside for a minute. I want to do this background panel first because again, it has to dry for a little bit. The other things you are going to need is your Folk Blossom stamp set. I'll just pull it out while I'm chatting about it here. So it is our smaller size stamp. Super adorable. We're going to have fun with this technique. And then your kindness is cool. You just need the little sentiment for this card, the smile. So I'll just go ahead and take that off and have that ready to go. You won't need anything else except that little smile. Put it there and set that aside. And then you will need your little, from the original card we did, the very first one, you need your little pink sequins. So the rest of whatever you didn't use on card number 1, you can just pull that little baggie and have that ready to go. Okay, so we've got our base here. And remember I said keep your little plastic from your stamp sets. We're going to use that. And we're also using Jane's Mermaid markers again. So let me go through the colors real quick and then I'll kind of walk you through where we're going with it. This time we're using Starfish, Pirate's Gold, Jellyfish, Seaweed, Lobster, and Byron Bay. And Byron Bay is the first one we're going to use. And this time we're doing kind of a fun smooshing technique just for the background of our card. So I'm going to swipe some marker on here. A decent amount, but not too much. And then what I have here is a medium mister, and this has water in it. So I'm going to kind of lift this up a little bit so I don't splash anything. Get my other cardstock out of the way. And then just give this a couple good spritzes. And this can kind of start to really get really fun and watery and yummy. And then my splash sheet, I'm also going to spritz the splash sheet. So again, this is just plain water in here. I'm going to do both sides. If I only did one side, the splash sheet would curl a little bit. So I'm going to do both sides. Make sure it's got some nice water on there. And then I'm just going to take my splash sheet and just kind of dunk it face down into my little puddle of Byron Bay here. And look how pretty. Again, you can kind of let it run, smoosh around a little bit. I'm not worried that every bit of it's not covered. In fact, that's kind of how I want it to look. So kind of get it to puddle exactly how I want, which I love that. And it's just going to become the background of our card. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It can just be just this lovely wash of color. And again, it's got that really nice watercolor look. And how easy was that, right? A few spritzes of water, just dip it in and done. So we're going to let that dry for a little bit. I'll kind of set it aside here. My card base there. Now, we're going to grab our Folk Blossom stamp and put it on a clear block here. Now, one really fun way to use the markers is to go ahead and marker or color your stamp directly onto your stamp. So instead of using an ink pad for this particular technique, I'm going to be using just the markers and I'm going to more or less paint the rubber stamp. And then I'm going to press it. I'm going to spritz it a little bit with water. Then I'm going to press it on our small piece of whipped cream we have here. So I'll have that ready. But again, I'm going to color in all the images with all the different colors. And you can kind of follow along as I go. We'll probably end up speeding this part of the video up just a little bit. Looks mostly covered. I can kind of go back and look at it, see if I need to touch up any little spots. Let me make sure this lighter yellow doesn't get overpowered here. So again, it doesn't dry real quickly. You need to kind of move along, but you don't have to be too panicked. Let's see if all my pinks are okay. Those are the first color I did, so I kind of want to make sure those are nice and juicy. And the stamp will hold a lot of ink, more than you actually think. So I feel like it's pretty good. Now I'm going to grab my panel, get that ready, and then my mister. Now I'm not going to add tons of water to this stamp, but just enough to kind of get those colors mixed just a little bit. Move this aside a little bit. So I'm going to basically do like 3 squirts max. And then we're going to quickly flip it over and try to get it as close to centered as we can on this panel. Let's give it a try. All right, so I kind of like to leave it set here just for a second, kind of let those colors blend a little bit. This is kind of the, the aha moment. You never quite know what you're going to get. So hopefully these colors have played well together. Again, kind of letting it soak. This panel that we just stamped on is not splash sheet, unlike the background we did, which was the splash sheet. So this is going to have more of the ink on the surface of the paper versus soaking in like we did here. All right, let's take a look. Peel off. Oh, quite pretty. I'm gonna grab a baby wipe right here. I'm gonna blot just the center part, just a tiny bit. Lighten up some of that dark green. But other than that, I'm quite happy with it. I love my yellow blossoms here. The pink look quite pretty. Got a lot of the green around the edges. So quite nice. I'm going to go ahead and let this dry. I'm going to probably trim this edge just a tiny bit more because it wasn't quite centered, but that's okay. So when this dries, we'll go ahead and add it to this watermelon panel, and that'll make the pink pop even more. Now in the meantime, while that dries, we can work on our sentiment. Remember I said to grab that fun little smile sentiment background there. And then you have one small little tiny piece of whipped cream cardstock. This time we're going to do sort of similar to we did on card number 3. We're going to stamp it with clear pigment. This time we're going to use gold embossing powder. So we're going to get a nice light pretty gold for our sentiment. Okay, that is a little bit of warm. That is a little warm, so be careful. You could use a clothespin or something to heat it for sure. And again, just trimming this little guy down a little bit narrower. And this time we're going to put a little banner cut on this end of it. I might hit this just a little bit with my heat gun. I'll go ahead and let you catch up on your card up to this point, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I think our watercolor panel is dry. I'm going to show you how to just trim it down a little bit, and we are on our way to finishing this cute little card. So like I said, I am going to trim off just a little bit. I didn't get my stamp quite centered. So this may happen to you at home, who knows? I'm just going to trim off just a teensy weensy bit more. And then I think I'll take a little bit off this edge too, so it's just still lined up with my mat, which is of course pre-cut for you. I mean, we're talking slivers of paper here, people. It doesn't really matter, but I told you I had to have things straight. So now you've got your panel that is all dry, your yummy watercolor panel. This does have to be trimmed down to 4 by 5 1/4, which is a little bit bigger than that right now. So just again, grab your trimmer and do it to 4 by 5 1/4. And you can pick which corners you want to trim off. Actually, I think I like that side, so I'm going to trim off the other side. 5 1/4. Okay, so this is like the normal size of a mat on the front of your card base. And I can go ahead and adhere this now since I'm ready to go. I'll put a little extra adhesive on this guy just because it is that splash sheet and it's got a little bit of a wave to it from all that water. This should hold it down nice and flat. Now I can add my finished stamped panel on here. Mine came out as kind of a little I don't know, impressionist, like what's happening here? I don't know. I like it though. And I'm going to grab that gold staple again in our mini stapler and just add another little accent to my sentiment. This guy I definitely want to pop up on my card base. So I was looking at the original card that I created for your postcard that you have in your kit. And I had to smile because I used one different color in this one. Instead of the Pirate's Gold on my original, I used this beach color. So when you have the mermaid markers, experiment with all different color palettes. You're definitely going to come up with something you love. So my yellow is a little bit darker, I think, than my original one on your postcard, because in the first card I made, I used beach instead of Pirate's Gold. So note to self, experiment with any of the mermaid markers. You're going to love all of them. I really think you can't go wrong no matter what you pick, but there you go. So popping up the sentiment also on this card, and then I'm going to add a few little sequins from those Pink World sequins. Really looks like, I mean, we did take a while to color this, but it really looks like you spent, you know, a lot of time with your watercolors, and it really wasn't that hard, right? So again, I have plenty of sequins here, probably more than I need. I just kind of wanted to come in and just accent a few of these little pinks or reds in the flowers. And the Pink World sequins are really pretty because they've got kind of a clear see-through look to them. So you can see that they've got that little sparkle and shine when you tilt the card. It just adds one more little element to your finished card. So I'll leave that one here, let you catch up, finish placing your sequins, and then I'll bring all 4 of our completed projects back and we'll take one last look. Thank you so much for crafting with me today. I hope you've had fun with your Kindness Matters project kit. I have had a blast creating this tutorial for you. It is evergreen. You can watch it as many times as you want. Go fast, go slow, maybe do your cards one at a time, whatever floats your boat. Let's take a look at the 4 finished cards that we created today. We have the darling little koala with the stenciled background, our little birthday wishes, and then the last 2 cards we created both with the mermaid markers, but both completely different looks. I think that we've shown you a lot of fun techniques that you can carry on with your crafting and really experiment with these stamps and have a lot of fun. I know you'll enjoy these cards as much as I have. As always, check out our website at spellbinderspaperarts.com and stay tuned because we're going to bring different project kits to you every single month throughout the year of 2020. So we're super excited about that. Check back often. And as always, enjoy bringing paper to life.